In the headlines, the Police Welfare Association asks for the reinstatement of Officer Gemma Lewis. Commonwealth heads to adopt revised Commonwealth guidelines on election observation in member countries, and local Arsenal fans give feedback on the news of the team manager's departure at the end of the Premier League season. I am Kenny Williams of the Channel 5 News. I'll be back with the details right after this.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fence pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
There are signs everywhere. Pay attention whether you're male or female. Visit your health center to get screened. It's a preliminary test to determine if you are exposed to the HIV virus, an STI, or tuberculosis. Some people who are HIV positive also have tuberculosis. But there's hope. Tuberculosis can be cured. And yes, you can live a full life with HIV. Talk to your doctor. Be responsible. Help stop the spread of TB, HIV. Encourage everyone to get tested.
Welcome back. First up, the Police Welfare Association is making a case for Constable Gemma Lewis to be reinstated after a murder case against her was dismissed.
It's been a year since the charge of murder was dropped and case dismissed against Constable Gemma Lewis in relation to the death of Joshua Etienne, a prisoner at the Portsmouth police station at the time. Corporal Lewis was initially accused with 4 police officers of Etienne's death in August 2014, causing them to be suspended from the police force pending an outcome. The charges were also dropped against Sergeant Hayden Morgan and Constable Orland Vigil, leaving Corporal Delvin Challenger and Martin Seaman remaining on remand while they await trial. Last April, a magistrate ruled that the prosecution failed to bring a prima facie case against the female constable. Chairman of the Police Welfare Association, Corporal Jefferson Drago, says the Police Service Commission has taken too long to act on Louis' matter.
She's suffering. She went through the court system and the matter was discontinued against her. So we are appealing to the Police Service Commission and its members to please reinstate Gemma Lewis.
Have you made a formal case to the Police Service Commission?
Yes, we have written to them and we are writing to them again because the police officers are getting wary of that.
This was one of the issues discussed with the police chief after the March election of the PWA executive. However, Drago says Police Chief Daniel Carbon said it is out of his hands.
I asked the chief the question, why was Gemma Lewis not reinstated to date? And he said that's not in his hands. When the letter of the discontinuance came from the magistrate court, he forwarded it to the Police Service Commission. So we have since wrote to the Police Service Commission asking them why is she not being reinstated.
Stemming out of your discussions with the police chief, could he strengthen your case? Could he
we asked for him. I asked him to use his influence to try to get her reinstated ASAP, and he said he has no influence there. So I took his word for it. So we will do our own influence.
The Police Service Commission has the power to appoint persons below the rank of Deputy Police Chief to hold or act in offices in the police force, to confirm appointments, to exercise disciplinary control, and to remove such persons from office. Drago says the PWA will give the Commission a deadline to get back to them concerning their request.
We'll write to them a formal letter again, asking them when they can reinstate Corporal Gemma Lewis. So we are looking at the next meeting so we can have a deadline as to when they're going to reinstate her. Or else a certain course of action will be taken. Because you will know too that the police force is suffering lack of manpower. And you cannot have police officers receiving half pay, and some of them, while on suspension, still have another job. And they're still getting half pay. And their half pay is saved by the government for them. So what sense is that?
Joshua Etienne was found dead in a police cell in Portsmouth a day after he was arrested for possession of ammunition. Idona John Baptist, Channel 5 News.
In more news, Commonwealth heads of government have just wrapped up their 2018 meeting in the UK, affirming that youth empowerment as well as gender equality are critical in realizing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This is based on the fact that 60% of the Commonwealth's population is under the age of 30. A communiqué by the heads towards a common future discussed how the Commonwealth can contribute to a future which is fairer, more sustainable, more secure, and more prosperous. Heads committed to ratifying and implementing the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women. This would be done through legislation, policies, and programs that mainstream and promote gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls in social, economic, and political life. The heads also agreed to address the stigma around disability in all its forms, as well as around mental health. It was also agreed that there would be a refreshed approach to election observation by adopting the revised Commonwealth guidelines on election observation in member countries. Earlier in the week, the UK government had to apologize to the Windrush generation who came to Britain from the Caribbean after World War II to help rebuild the country. Some of these individuals had reportedly been deported and others were being lumped in with illegal immigrants. Former DFP Press Secretary Parry Bellot has been following the developments and shared his perspective.
Classic case of bureaucracy gone a little wild. And there are historical reasons why it suddenly appeared on the thing. Two issues. One was that there was certain documentation involving those particular people that had literally been destroyed. Somebody took a decision, it was their arrival dates and so on. He didn't think that after 60 years and whatnot, those were relevant. And maybe there's some kind of cleanup going on, and they decided to destroy these records. But more critically, because of Brexit, the UK had to start strict standards of who can stay in the UK. In other words, when they were part of Europe, people could come in, stay how long they wanted, and so from Europe and whatever. You can imagine they had to start clamping down on that now as they're leaving Europe. And some of that went on to what about all these other immigrants we're getting? Look, we're getting, and some of them been here a long time, a lot of them are illegal. So, and then they started doing paperwork. Well, maybe we instead of that, shooting them back. Again, some of those bureaucrats don't understand the history behind those other people. And when the Prime Minister recognized that, and I give her full credit, she didn't just say we're going to, do something about it to make sure that. She apologized for what had been done. That takes a lot when a politician apologizes. So it renews my faith in the British system, the British fair play. As I say, bureaucracies can go wrong, and that was a classic example of what went wrong. They were trying to solve one problem with Europe. It got cascaded into something to do with the Caribbean especially, but fortunately was put right.
In other news, plans are underway to improve the road network in the south of Dominica. One of the sections of road is in Highland Granby, where a missing section is affecting pupils of the primary school and business owners in that area.
We have a little concern about on the way to the access to the primary school. The primary school, Post Maria, there was serious erosion of the road. In fact, the road is not passable. In Highland, going to the primary school. And so the Bailey Bridge, work should have started on the Bailey Bridge last week. I'm going to make sure that somebody goes up there so that we can see the work. I know some people from Highland told me that people were there, but before the end of April, we should see work commencing on the Bailey Bridge in Highland. Because the people in Highland are concerned, and rightfully so, because their little economic activities curtail, some of those with their little shops and to bring their little things to their places. Vehicles cannot go that way, so they have to access through other routes to get into Highland. So definitely, and this is the easiest access from the main community to Highland. So definitely it's of concern to them.
Minister Charles says work will also be undertaken on the section of road from Pishneh to Granby to improve the conditions ahead of a major UK-funded road project.
And the main road from Granby coming from Pishneh, we have already spoken with the Ministry of Public Works. What we are proposing is that we do some double surface dressing because from Maranatha Square into Grand Bay to the boxing shed, all of that, in fact, we are driving on riverbed. That's how it is. And so we are going to do some double surface dressing here while we wait for the British government who offered to do from Loubier to Fosséjean. But hopefully, in fact, in discussion, I know the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have been in discussion with them to see if they can expedite the whole work, because they had to redesign. They already had designs, but they had to redesign because of the impact of Maria.
Next up, plans are underway for a disaster preparedness plan at the Belfast DCP plant, coming out of an over $5 million in losses due to Hurricane Maria. The company's general manager pointed out, however, that the damage assessed by their insurance company was undervalued.
We spent quite a bit of time, I would say a month and a half, just working on cleanup with some little repairs in between and some short-term patch-ups and repairs while we were trying to do all the assessment for insurance. Based on the insurance report that was done and the assessments that were done for insurance, over $5 million in damages was caused by Hurricane Maria. So it was a tall task, and I think like most of the Dominicans, we had a case of underinsurance as well, because based on when the company was, the entire site was purchased from Colgate, it was purchased at the depreciated values that Colgate would have had on the books, so they were insured at those values.
The impact of Hurricane Maria last September set back the launch of DCP Successors Limited by 4 months, causing operations to start in February.
The only silver lining in terms of Maria versus Tropical Storm Erica was that the factory was not as flooded as with Erica. So a lot of the repairs that they did on the equipment inside of the factory, they were not severely impacted by Maria. However, having said that, there was significant damage to other areas of the factory, roof damage, other wind damage, and the entire electrical infrastructure was compromised. So even something like the jetty, we were severely underinsured for the jetty. And if you go to the jetty now, you would see that there's significant damage. We're actually in the process now of contracting someone to repair the jetty. Because there's significant damage. A lot of the slabs got lifted up and are now at the bottom of the ocean.
The company's management will consider setting up specific plans to deal with future disasters.
But we're definitely working on a business continuity plan and a disaster preparedness plan. We'll have like a disaster team put in place so people will know who to call. We're looking at not just that, but based on what we knew happened here for Maria with the security, we must commend the security as well. They actually stayed here for the entire hurricane, even though a lot of their buildings were compromised. But we're looking at how we can actually prepare and have like a sort of a safer environment for security officers, which is close by, that will help keep them safe during a disaster, a tropical storm or hurricane. But that is something, as I said, we're in the process of doing. It's going to take a little bit of time and resources. This year even is predicted as one of the most active hurricane seasons. So we definitely have to try and put something at least in draft form before the start of the hurricane season.
The company was acquired in April 2017 by the Nassif family and other foreign investors after the global consumer products company Colgate-Palmolive shut the business in November 2015. You are watching the Channel 5 News. We'll have much more in store after the break.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners. Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more. Smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Welcome back. Citrus farmers around the island will have to wait at least a year to receive new plants for cultivation. Andrea Louis tells us more.
Agriculture Officer with specific responsibility for plant propagation, Joseph Blanford, explained that due to the extensive damage of the country's propagation facilities, this has slowed down the process of preparing plants for distribution. He says the damage to these facilities has also affected the certification process, which would ensure that clean planting material is produced for circulation among the farmers in the country.
What we do at the gardens is a certification facility where we attempt to produce clean planting material to combat the challenges that we face with tristeza and citrus greening. So we operate under what we call protective screen, modified control environments. And the structures themselves were severely impacted. The plants on a whole were, well, once they've been exposed to the elements and the netting, the protective screens are off them, they themselves would be compromised. So it was severely impacted by the storm, and by extension the other facilities, some of them totally destroyed, La Plaine, Grand Bay.
The agriculture officer highlighted that based on the cycle of preparing planting material for farmers, none will be available for distribution this year.
The citrus facilities is a 2 years, we operate on a 2-year cycle because of the time period. So if we have to get back into citrus production, I don't see that we can do that before a 2-year period, because we would have to do everything from scratch. But when I say a 2-year period, we can still source our rootstock material, sow them, get them up on time to do the budding grafting operation, import the scion material, because we lose the capacity to generate scion material locally. We had that capacity because we built the facility to do just that. But then because of the impact of the storm, we would have to start everything from scratch, and that would take us about 5 to 6 years to get the parent plants on a whole developed to the size that we can extract buds from them. But we have the option of importation of scion material from our source. It's just that it'll be a little more costly.
While the facilities for certification of citrus planting material were extensively damaged, there were other structures involved in the plant propagation process which were also impacted.
We also have our indexing facilities where we have ability to do the indexing of the plant for various diseases. The facility in itself, like this facility across there, wasn't so impacted. The warm room and the cold room wasn't severely impacted. Well, the cold room on a whole was designed to withstand those kind of a category of storms, you know. But with the warm room, you just extract the nets. Once you know a pending storm is coming, you remove all of the screens off it. But with the magnitude of the storm, even the area that you'd want to secure them, they themselves could be compromised, because we see a lot of the structures, the physical structures, have lost their roofs.
Blanford assures Dominicans that some citrus trees are already flushing and they will see citrus fruits on the market this year. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
We continue with this item where a regional institution is taking a hands-on approach in helping Dominica develop its pool of skilled individuals trained in the art of climate-resilient construction techniques. This is the aim of a new program being developed by the UE Open Campus Dominica branch to help students learn resiliency in building, which will in turn contribute to Dominica's Build Back Better movement. Head of the Dominica branch, Kimon Joseph, says the local leg of the institution has been at the forefront in creating new courses which suit the needs of the host country and eventually the wider region.
What we're working on now on the Open Campus Dominica standpoint, because I must tell you that of all the 44 sites around the Caribbean, the Open Campus Dominica over the last 4 years has been the most active as far as the creation of local programs is concerned. We find out what's happening on the ground, we do our stakeholder research, and we produce programs that are pioneer programs that the rest of the Caribbean end up using afterwards. So right now we are working on a construction management program that will take into account the building codes and building resiliently. So that's one of the programs that we are working on that is directly related to that particular theme. We are also working on sports management. I know that it's not really directly related to what we're talking about, but we're looking at 2 courses in essentials of coaching, and we're working right now with various stakeholders, presenting what we do have and asking them whether that will suit their needs or we need to add some more to that. So we're in the draft stage of that one.
Joseph says these programs must go through a strict process before they are approved for the upcoming academic year.
We hope to launch those programs as early as September 2018 for the new academic year. They have to go through a very strict process, quality assurance process, so we are preparing ourselves for that part.
And the launch of a new Jingping DVD by the Cultural Division for Dumfesta this year, dubbed Jingping Music Foundation to Innovation, tells a very serious story about the need to do something to ensure the sustainability of this cultural art form. Based on the comments made by some of the seniors who have been dedicated to Jingping music over the years, there are fears over who will replace them when they are gone. When one considers that most of these men are in their 70s, the urgent need to do succession planning takes on greater significance.
My name is Crawford Alexis. Maxwell Blanc. Christopher Jefferson Warrington. My name is Harvey Silver. My name is Joseph Eddy. Johnny Coffey. My name is Joseph Paul. Hans Francis. Stephen Dreyko from Woodford. Alexander Laron. My name is Damasus Challenger. I'm 77 years of age. 78 years. 78 years old. 77. 77. 70 years. 67. I'll be 61 this year. 61. I will be 50 this year. I started playing music in 1978. I started to play since I was 20 years. A young little boy at 8 years of age. I can't remember the year I started. Because I started very young. Not long time, more than 50 years. I started to play 1975. Probably 73. I've been involved in Jingping music for about 30 years now. I've been following the bands since I was probably 10, 12. I met my grandfather with the accordion. My parents and them was involved in that same activity. So I get involved with them because all where they go, I was going with them. When I raised up little boy at home, my father and me drumming. My father was an accordionist. And at the time I come out to school, I used to take his accordion and start to make my little comments. From since I was 8, 9, 10 years. I got involved because my entire family was once musicians and dancers. So I follow suit.
The present-day musicians dedicated to Jingping music had to make some sacrifices to learn the art form.
I danced before I played. I tell myself how to learn to play music. So I used to follow them, go with them, lose my sleep whole night with them for me to learn the black accordion. When I get on my ass burning me in the morning, I don't sleep. Just for me to learn the black accordion. I used to listen to how they play, I used to watch them, especially that young man from Deepa, named Landa Massicot. My brother got an accordion in Guadeloupe. He brought it home and we learned to play at home. Self-taught. I learned to play by myself. My generation people are musical people. I used to take a condensed milk and I give it a wire and give it ready. Sit then and do that. So swallow the play the gouache first and then I come on the turbo. Mr. Clayton, go here. Could you remember the teacher in Grande, from Grande? Well, he gave me the first accordion. I sit down by him and then he telling me how to touch the note. Sometimes I take my hand and beating on the anything. So after a while he tell me, well, I'll have to buy my accordion for him to just finish learning me how to play. My father sells by another one. So I used to take it and do little thing. $45 in town. I buy that little accordion. The harmonica was, since I was a youth, that was my Christmas toy.
A number of the early Jingping musicians are now deceased, and efforts to persuade or entice the younger generation to take up the art form does not always go over well.
The challenges I have now is to teach more people to play the instruments.
It's lack of training. That is the problem.
They love the music. They love to hear the music, but they don't taking it seriously. They'll come today, tomorrow they'll not come.
It has a lot of people, a lot of children that are not interested, but it has plenty that are interested. But it's the instrument they don't have.
Continuity. There's nobody picking it up.
If I learn to play accordion now, you teach me something to play. When you teach me something to play, you take your mistake, you go before I go and play.
They just want to learn to play the local music.
I can't go to you. Man go to hills, but hills not coming to you.
I want some young people for me to train, but they don't want to come. Not to say I don't want to train them, you know.
If they want to learn to play, I'm available.
The same children in school, some of them will not learn, not by fault, but some of them will have learned. What you want that don't learn will not go to college, but he or she has to learn something. Before they pick up the cutlass, you have somebody to do something, send them and learn their college.
To me, the young people now is Americanized, you know, some of them. They're not interested in that seems as though.
In the age of computer, you find a lot of people are not interested in it, so we have to kind of prompt them, ask them, beg them.
The music starts to change already.
They haven't got the taste and they haven't got the spirit in them.
When you ask them to practice, they don't come in.
It will not go further because they don't have no interest in it.
It saddens me, but that's the real truth. That's the reality.
In spite of these challenges, it is expected that Jingping music will continue to influence present-day popular Dominican music, such as Calypso and bouillon. Jingping is considered the signature genre of Dominica's folk music. That's news, your sports highlights. Next.
If you're HIV positive or have an STI, having unprotected sex with multiple partners puts them in grave danger. You'll expose every partner and their present and future partners to HIV or another STI. Use a condom every time you have sex. You can live a productive life even if diagnosed with HIV. Remember, early detection is key to your survival. Be responsible, protect yourself and others. Help stop the spread of HIV and other STIs.
First up, action continues in the Dominica Cricket Association's Intermediate League with 3 matches on the weekend. On Saturday, Power Boys will take on Kalinago Stars at Winter Park Sports Stadium. On Sunday, Somerset Sports Club and Starlights will do battle at Benjamin's Park, while over at Windsor Park Sports Stadium, Summit Sports Club will go head-to-head with Point Michelle Cricket Academy and Tremors combined. All games are scheduled to begin at 11 in the morning. On the football scene, Arsenal's Arsene Wenger set to leave the club at the end of the season, ending a near 22-year reign as manager. The Frenchman departs a year before his latest contract was scheduled to expire. Arsenal is 6th in the league and is set to miss out on a top 4 spot for the 2nd straight season, with their hope of reaching the Champions League resting on winning the Europa League. Channel 5 Sports spoke with local football fans to get feedback on the news.
To speak the truth to you, I was kind of surprised, but not surprised. We just knew that last year Arsene Wenger had just extended a 2-year contract with Arsenal. And I honestly thought that he would have stayed for his 2 years. But based on the result that he's been getting over the last year, I really think that this announcement today, I can kind of take it in. Because I know he has been under a lot of pressure. The fans, including even the local fans, have been asking for him to be leave Arsenal, and I think he's under a lot of pressure, and the result hasn't been doing him much good. The only thing is that now we're hoping that Arsenal can get somebody, with the kind of stature as Arsene Wenger and live to bring the club forward. There are a number of names coming through, so I hope one of them, can be attained by the Arsenal board. And we are just hoping that whatever happened at Arsenal, that they continue to be one of the top club in England.
it's kind of a sad to see Arsene Wenger go, but I think it's been coming for a number of years. In terms of his performance as a manager, it has dwindled over since the Invincible year in 2004. We haven't won any major trophies besides the FA Cup, and I think it's about time that he steps down and just ushers in a new manager for the club. Over the past 3 years, we've also struggled to qualify for the Champions League, and that is a big issue for us as fans, as we want to play football during the Champions League. We want to excel in the Champions League, and he hasn't really delivered on that aspect as well. So the monetary thing is probably very well and good for the club, but as fans, we want to see trophies, we want to hold silverware. I have a bias for a German coach, so I would think Joachim Löw, who was the former manager of the Germany team, would be somebody that as an Arsenal fan I would love to see in that role. We also have a number of German internationals on the team as well, so I think he can continue that same Arsenal flair, but bring some structure to our defense and our midfield, and allow us to push forward in a way that continues with the Arsenal spirits, but will give us an opportunity to win major trophies.
Next up, the local governing body on football plans to launch a grassroots program in the Northeast this weekend. Saturday's activity is geared at ensuring a level of continuity in the sport, which Dominica Football Association President Glenn Etienne pointed out last weekend was a major target area for the association. In excess of 100 boys and girls between 6 and 12 years of age will be exposed to basic football techniques at Layo Park in Marigot from 10 in the morning. Participants are expected to come from the W.S. Stevens, Kalibishi, Woodford Hill, Wesley and Concord primary schools. The students will be instructed by coaches trained under the auspices of the DFA. Saturday's program forms part of DFA's plan to develop and identify talent from an early age from a wide cross-section of the country. Similar activities have been held in Granby, Casabruce and Roseau. DFA plans to target Lap Lane and Portsmouth next. And several years in the field of martial arts has led one man to produce what he describes as one of his greatest achievements to date. Shian Shanna Robin, a locally based martial artist, released a documentary on Friday dubbed A Journey of Courage. One Chance is All I Need.
Well, it has been over a year now since I've been working on my documentary. And the documentary is about a little black boy who fight the odds and got one chance to make a difference, and went through, in spite of all the hurdles, all the negativity, he broke through and finally accomplished a lot of different amazing things. So the documentary is about inspiration, it's about motivation, it's about setting a goal, a dream, having a vision, and going through no matter what the circumstances are, and accomplishing those circumstances, those accomplishments that you have set out for yourself. What I really want to focus right now is the documentary inspirational film, which is going to inspire the youth of Dominica, not just Shanna Robin or Shian Shanna Robin or Universal Martial Arts.
Robin plans on sharing the documentary among high schools here as well as State College in an effort to further positively influence youth.
Wednesday next week we're going to show it at the Isaiah Thomas and maybe at the Seventh-day Adventist Secondary School. And eventually I want it to be shown in all of the high schools and the college around Dominica, because it has to inspire. Now I think it's the appropriate time because we have a lot of obstacles in our way. We have a lot of young people who have lost a lot of things over the hurricane season, and they believe there is no hope. Some of them, they are in despair. And I want that documentary to be a tribute to that struggle that we are going through, and not giving up on yourself, not giving up on your dreams, not giving up on your aspiration because of where you are or the circumstances that you are in right now. One chance is all I need. That's the name of my documentary. In life, all we need is one chance, one opportunity, the right person, the right time, and then everything just unfold like a parachute, you know what I mean?
That's all the sporting highlights for now. Join us next time. To end the news, the headlines again. The Police Welfare Association asks for the reinstatement of Officer Gemma Lewis. Commonwealth heads to adopt revised Commonwealth guidelines on election observation in member countries, and local Arsenal fans give feedback on the news of the team manager's departure at the end of the Premier League season. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Kenny Williams. To all our viewers around the world, thank you for watching, and do have yourself an awesome weekend.